Have you ever noticed that most people spend their entire lives waiting for the perfect moment to prosper, and that moment never arrives? They believe they need to have money first to then think like millionaires, when in fact, the opposite is true. The paradox is that prosperity begins in the mind long before it appears in the bank account. And that's exactly what almost no one talks about, because it's easier to sell quick shortcuts than to teach the truth that transforms. Maybe you're tired of hearing phrases like, "Someday it'll all work out," but you're still stuck in the same rut of debt, stress, and comparisons. The hard truth is, if you keep waiting, nothing changes. But here's the kicker. You don't need more luck, you need irreversible decision and a simple method for aligning faith, discipline, and action. It's counterintuitive, but believe me, great directors didn't start when they were ready. They started by deciding they were already prosperous before it even seemed like it. And that's what I'll show you in this video. How to adopt the right mindset, build a solid identity, use minimal routines, and activate income levers to change your destiny. If you apply what you learn here, in just a few days you'll feel a difference in the way you act, think, and attract opportunities. But be careful. This content isn't for those seeking magic. It's for those who desire truth. So stay with me until the end, because what you discover could be the key to your entire life. Irreversible decision. Act as if you have already won. There comes a moment in life when a person looks at themselves in the mirror and understands, either they decide now, or they will be stuck in the same cycle forever. It is at that moment that decision becomes irreversible, because it no longer depends on when, but on now. Whoever adopts this stance begins to act with a mentality of a winner, even if you don't yet see the fruits of your labor. It's like an athlete who trains before their first medal, believing the podium is already theirs. This choice creates a different vibration, an energy that attracts new possibilities. And with each small victory, confidence grows. This is how the journey of true prosperity starts. Acting like a winner doesn't mean showing off or living by appearances. It means walking with focus and clarity, knowing where the road leads. The person who decides to prosper gets out of bed as if they have already conquered, because they understand that the body must obey the mind. This discipline, it creates habits that, repeated daily, accumulate enormous results over time. Think of someone who decides to run 2 kilometers a day. In a year, they've covered 730 kilometers, even without being an athlete. The same goes for finances, relationships, and career. The future begins with small but firm steps. When Napoleon Hill said that the wealth begins in the mind, it wasn't poetry, it was observation. He studied hundreds of millionaires and found that they all had a moment of decision non-negotiable. It was no longer maybe or if it works out. It was, it will happen, no matter what. So I drew. This shift in attitude triggers an invisible force within the human being that suddenly makes them creators of their own destiny. Imagine someone who, after going bankrupt, decides to get back on their feet. Instead of victimizing themselves, they seek new strategies, learn from their mistakes, and transform pain into learning. This is the essence of true change. A faith enters this process as fuel. It's not just religious belief, but the deep conviction that something greater sustains the steps of those who act courageously. This faith makes a person behave as if they've already won, even when the external scenario still seems contrary. It's like a seed buried in the earth, invisible to the eye, but carrying life within. Those who have persistence water this seed daily with consistent actions, and sooner or later, the sprout appears, confirming that the harvest will be abundant. Prosperity begins invisibly, but manifests itself inevitably. Many make the mistake of waiting for circumstances to change before changing their approach. But life works the other way around. It's the attitude that changes circumstances. Those who act like winners before victory create fertile ground for the right doors to open. For example, someone who dreams of leading a team but is still in an entry-level position can start acting like a leader now, helping colleagues, taking on extra responsibilities, and demonstrating strategic vision. This action creates reputation and trust, opening paths that seemed unattainable. The mentality precedes the position, not the other way around. A practical example of this can be found in the world of investments. The small investor who decides to invest 100 reais per month, even without significant resources, is already behaving like someone who values the future. He doesn't expect to have extra money, but rather creates the habit of saving. This discipline turns him into the protagonist of his own prosperity over time. Compound interest does the invisible work, multiplying the results. The person who decides to act like a millionaire, even on a smaller scale, reaps the rewards long before reaching the desired amount, because the real change has already occurred within them. Another powerful aspect is the way in which the visualization acts. When a person imagines their goal in detail, the house, the lifestyle, the work routine, they train their mind to believe it's possible. This mental image begins to guide their decisions in the present. It's like someone who already sees themselves fluent in a language. Because they envision this future, they study every day without procrastinating. Persistence becomes natural, because the brain already recognizes that reality as familiar. Clear vision, combined with action, transforms dreams into tangible projects. It's important to understand that acting as if you've already won isn't about denying reality, but about shaping it. You face challenges head-on, but you don't identify with them. A late bill doesn't mean failure. It means financial learning. A rejection at work doesn't mean incapacity. It means redirection. This mentality prevents the person from getting stuck in the present moment and allows them to see beyond it. It is at this point that faith is renewed, remembering that each obstacle is a step and not a wall. The wealth, it is not only material, but also emotional and spiritual. Stories of transformation confirm this logic. The street vendor who became the owner of a chain of stores didn't wait to own a business to dress with dignity and serve customers with excellence. He acted like an entrepreneur when he was still carrying goods in his cart. This decision shaped its reputation and attracted partners and investors. The same goes for any industry. Those who want to thrive in the digital world need to behave like value creators from the very first post. Persistence. This pattern generates a credibility that, sooner or later, opens doors that seemed unreachable. Acting as if you've already won is therefore a daily choice, not a one-off event. It's getting out of bed with focus, organize the agenda with discipline, make decisions clearly, and nurture the faith that the invisible is already becoming visible. It's the sum of small gestures that build a great change. The curious thing is that when a person adopts this lifestyle, they don't need to convince anyone. Their attitude already speaks for itself. And this attitude prepares them for the next level, which is understanding how identity shapes everything she achieves. Identity before results, who I am, guides what I do. Many people believe they need to achieve results to feel capable. But the opposite is true. Identity comes first, then results. When someone decides to see themselves as a writer, even before their first book is published, they already begin to act like one. This means creating a writing routine, studying good authors, and practicing every day. Identity is the invisible seed that bears visible fruit. And it's precisely this that sustains a long-term mindset. The human mind operates on coherence. When you define yourself in a certain way, the brain begins to align your choices with that declared self. Those who see themselves as healthy tend to reject excess and prioritize exercise, not out of obligation, but because it no longer fits with their old identity. It's different from simply wanting to lose weight. Identity produces natural discipline because it becomes incoherent to live any other way, and that's why prosperity begins with an internal redefinition of who you are. A simple example: someone who dreams of being an investor. If they wait until they have a lot of money to take on this role, they may never get started. But if they decide to see themselves as an investor today, they'll study finance, open a brokerage account, and invest small amounts. This consistent practice will establish the identity they desire. Over time, the results will appear. It's the same logic Napoleon Hill described. Being precedes having. Identity is the engine that drives actions, and consequently, results. It's common to see people who achieve something but can't sustain it, precisely because their identity hasn't been transformed. Think of someone who loses weight quickly with a radical diet, but continues to see themselves as someone without discipline. The result is temporary because the old identity sabotages the change. The same happens with those who get rich without a prosperity mindset. They lose everything in a short time. A solid identity guarantees solid results. Without it, any achievement becomes a sandcastle. The power of identity also explains why self-suggestion phrases work. By repeating, "I am disciplined," "I am persistent," "I am prosperous," people shape their self-image. This isn't magic, it's neuroscience. The brain seeks to align behavior with internal beliefs. Gradually, choices begin to reflect this new identity. Reading good books, hanging out with inspiring people, and consuming uplifting content reinforces this process. Those who see themselves as winners act like winners. Real-life stories demonstrate this pattern. Michael Phelps, before becoming an Olympic champion, already saw himself as one. He mentally visualized every stroke, every finish, every medal on his chest. His identity was, "I am a champion," even before the world recognized him. This belief shaped his routine, making grueling workouts a natural part of life. The same is true for entrepreneurs who see themselves as innovators before starting companies. Self-perception fuels the persistence that generates lasting wealth. In practical life, embracing an identity is more powerful than simply setting goals. For example, instead of saying, "I want to read 20 books this year," declare, "I'm an avid reader." This simple change changes your behavior. You'll naturally set aside time for reading, carry books with you, and prioritize this habit. Identity guides action, and action builds results. This is the logic that underpins both personal and financial growth. Identity is the root. Results are the fruit. In the spiritual realm, identity is also decisive. The Bible says, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." This means that how a person sees themselves shapes their choices, and consequently, their destiny. Those who see themselves as beloved children of God, heirs of promises, walk with greater confidence, face challenges with greater faith, and refuse to live limitedly. This inner identity brings a strength that no external circumstance can erase. Prosperity is a reflection of who you believe yourself to be. The key is to understand that changing one's identity doesn't require prior results, but rather decision and practice. It begins when someone decides to declare, "I am disciplined," even if they still struggle with procrastination. By acting on this new vision, transformation occurs. It's like putting on a piece of clothing that seems too big at first, but gradually begins to fit perfectly. The chosen identity becomes natural, and then the results flow, because they are the consequence of an empowered being. When identity is established, the path becomes easier. The person no longer relies solely on external motivation, because they now live in coherence with who they believe themselves to be. If identity is solid, discipline remains even on difficult days, and this quiet strength transforms into real prosperity, which grows with deep roots. But the question remains, how can we set clear goals that sustain this identity and transform intention into daily practice? This is what we will explore in the next section. Defined and measurable objective. One of the biggest traps is living with vague desires. I want to be happy. I want to be rich. I want to change my life. But what exactly does that mean? If a person can't clearly describe what they're looking for, their mind finds no direction. Napoleon Hill called this definite thinking, having a specific, time-bound, and detailed goal. It's not just about dreaming, but about transforming the dream into a concrete goal. Without this step, the prosperity mindset remains just a fantasy. Think about the difference between saying, I want to improve my finances, and saying, I want to pay off all my debts by December 2026 and save 500 raise per month starting in January. The first is desire, the second is objective. The brain needs clear instructions to organize behavior and energy. The more specific, the easier it is to measure progress. It's like using a GPS. You don't type in anywhere, but the exact address. Clarity brings focus, and focus breeds discipline. A simple example. Imagine someone who wants to lose weight. If they simply say, I want to lose weight, they won't have any guidance. But if they declare, I want to lose 8 kilos in 5 months, exercising 4 times a week, and controlling their daily calories, they've already created a map. This map is what turns desire into action. Each week, you can measure progress, correct mistakes, and stay motivated. Prosperity follows the same logic. Setting a measurable goal makes everything more tangible and motivating. Defined goals don't have to be huge at first. They can be small, but specific. Instead of, I want to invest, a person can decide, I will invest 200 Rs per month in Treasury Direct until I reach 2,000 Rs accumulated. This simple goal creates discipline and builds confidence. Once achieved, it can be expanded. The common mistake is to wait for the big opportunity, when, in fact, it's the small, consistent goals that build the big turnaround. A good method is SMART, which many have heard of but few apply. Goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. If any of these points are missing, the goal loses its power. For example, I want to open a business is generic, but I want to open an online fitness clothing store by June 2025, with 50 registered products and an initial revenue of $5,000 already fits the model. This clarity is a game changer. It's worth remembering that goals aren't prisons, they're compasses. They provide direction, but they don't prevent adjustments. Those who set a goal and realize along the way that they need to change course haven't failed. They've simply refined their vision. This too is prosperity, the ability to correct and learn without giving up. Unlike those who never set anything, those who set goals learn faster and evolve consistently. Even mistakes become clearer because they can be compared to the destination they've mapped out. Another powerful detail: sharing goals with the right people increases accountability. When someone declares, I'm going to publish my first ebook by the end of the year, it creates a greater sense of commitment. The same happens in mastermind groups. Each member sets goals, and the group helps them follow through. This external support strengthens persistence. It's not about exposure, but about creating an environment where giving up becomes increasingly less likely. It's also important to align goals with purpose. There's no point in defining, I want to earn 1 million if it doesn't connect with your values or lifestyle. Many people achieve financial goals only to realize they remain empty because they lacked meaning. Prosperity isn't just about numbers, it's about the coherence between who you are, what you believe, and what you build. So before setting a goal, it's worth asking, does this serve my purpose? Does it bring me closer to the life I want to live? In practice, a good way to start is to choose 3 priority areas: finances, health, and relationships. In each, write a clear and measurable objective. Example: I want to read 12 books on emotional intelligence in 12 months. I want to run 5K non-stop by September. I want to save 10% of my monthly income to invest. This organizes focus and prevents distraction. Well-defined goals are like lenses that expand your vision of the future. The most impressive thing is realizing that when a person sets clear goals, their mind begins to filter different information. They begin to notice opportunities that were previously invisible because they now have a reference. It's like buying a red car and suddenly seeing red cars everywhere. A defined goal tunes the brain to the right frequency. But a new question arises. Once you've defined it, how do you strengthen the belief that it's truly possible? That's where the power of visualization. Helpful, no mystical visualization. 3-minute daily itinerary. Visualization is a word many associate with something mystical or distant, but in practice, it's a simple and powerful tool for mental focus. It trains the brain to recognize a future before it arrives, so that your actions in the present align with that vision. When someone mentally envisions themselves as a confident speaker, even before the first audience, they begin to behave accordingly. This isn't magic. It's applied neuroscience. It's giving the brain a clear image of what you want to build. Studies show that high-performance athletes use visualization as an essential part of their training. Michael Phelps, for example, rehearsed every movement in his mind, even visualizing unexpected events. The result: when he entered the pool, his body already knew what to do because his brain had rehearsed it countless times. This practice isn't limited to sports. Anyone can use it. Visualizing a successful presentation, a completed exam, or a thriving business creates a sense of familiarity that reduces fear. The mind doesn't clearly distinguish between real experiences and vivid mental simulations. That's why simply imagining a situation can accelerate learning. If someone desires financial prosperity, they can visualize themselves receiving their salary, setting aside a portion for investments, paying bills with ease, and still having money left over for leisure. This mental movie reinforces the discipline needed to make it real. The more detailed the scene, the stronger the impact on the mindset. But here's the secret. Visualization without action is fantasy. The goal isn't to daydream, but to create internal references that support daily practice. When a person visualizes waking up early, putting on workout clothes, and running 3 kilometers, they dramatically increase the chances of actually doing it. The body follows the mind. Faith and persistence become stronger because there's already been prior rehearsal. Action becomes natural, almost inevitable, because it's already been experienced internally. A daily visualization routine doesn't need to last more than 3 minutes. Ideally, it should be done in the morning, when the brain is still in slower, more receptive waves. Step 1 is to choose a defined goal. Step 2 is to create a clear image of what it would be like to experience it once achieved. Step 3 is to incorporate emotions: joy, gratitude, confidence. This combination of clarity and emotion imprints the vision on the subconscious. And so, without realizing it, the person begins to move toward their desired future. For example, if the goal is to become a published writer, visualization might include opening a box containing the first printed copies. Imagine the smell of the paper, the name on the cover, the feeling of holding the book itself. This scene, repeated daily, strengthens the discipline of writing, even on days when motivation is low. A prosperity mindset grows from the repetition of images that reinforce the identity one has chosen for themselves. Another important detail is that visualization can be used not only for large goals, but also for small tasks. Before an important meeting, one can imagine the conversation flowing clearly, the right words coming naturally, and confidence shining through in every gesture. This doesn't guarantee perfection, but it increases confidence. Even students can use it. Visualizing yourself answering a test calmly and clearly helps reduce anxiety and improve performance. In the spiritual realm, visualization connects with faith. The Bible speaks of calling into being those things that do not exist as though they did. When someone imagines themselves living in prosperity, serving others, honoring commitments, and multiplying their talents, they are, in a sense, practicing this principle. It's a way of aligning mind and spirit. The difference is that in addition to mental practice, it's necessary to take concrete action steps, because faith without works is dead. Visualization is the ignition. Action is the movement. Some people resist this practice because they find it childish or too dreamy. But the curious thing is that we already do it all the time, just in a negative way. Those who spend hours imagining they'll fail, that they're incapable, or that they'll be rejected, are also practicing visualization, just sabotaging it. The difference is choosing to use the same tool constructively. If the brain is going to rehearse something anyway, why not train it for victory instead of defeat? Useful visualization is an invitation to experience the future before it arrives. It's about transforming minutes into mental images that activate focus, discipline, and action. It's not about illusion, it's about preparation. The body acts according to the mind, and the mind can be programmed with clarity and intention. But there's still one missing piece. Beyond visualizing and feeling, it's necessary to speak about and reinforce these beliefs daily. This is where the practice of autosuggestion, our next key to consolidating the prosperity mindset. Autosuggestion that becomes behavior, ready-made models. Autosuggestion is like the steering wheel of the mind. It directs where life goes. What we repeat daily in thoughts and words shapes the way we act. Those who constantly tell themselves, "I can't," are training their subconscious to give up before even trying. Those who affirm, "I can solve this," begin moving toward a solution, even in the face of difficulties. This is the principle of mental prosperity. You reap what you sow. Napoleon Hill emphasized that the mind is a fertile garden, indiscriminate between good and bad seeds. If you sow doubt, fear, and self-sabotage, you will reap exactly that. If you sow confidence, courage, and vision, the fruits will be abundant. Autosuggestion isn't magic. It's conscious repetition until the mind accepts a new identity. And when the subconscious accepts something as true, the body automatically acts in accordance with that belief. A practical example. Imagine someone who wants to build financial discipline. If they repeat to themselves every day, "I'm out of control with money," they reinforce the identity that holds them back. But if they start declaring, "I manage my money wisely," they create a new internal narrative. Little by little, they begin to act differently. They record expenses, avoid waste, and seek to learn more about investing. This simple phrase transforms into practical behavior, and in time, into real prosperity. The power of autosuggestion lies in repetition and emotion. Simply reading a sentence mechanically isn't enough. You need to feel what you're saying. When someone says, "I have discipline with conviction," the brain registers the emotion as proof of reality. It's like rehearsing a play. It may sound forced at first, but over time the role becomes natural. Likewise, autosuggestion becomes automatic behavior. To make things easier, there are ready-made templates that can be used as a starting point. Examples. I am persistent and don't give up in the face of difficulties. I am focused and complete everything I start. I attract prosperity because I serve people with excellence. These phrases, when repeated with faith, build a solid identity. The important thing is to adapt them to reflect personal goals. The more specific, the more effective. This way, your mindset aligns with your objectives. Autosuggestion can also be written, not just spoken. Many successful leaders keep affirmation notebooks, where they daily record what they want to internalize. This practice further reinforces the message, as writing activates different areas of the brain. Someone who writes, "I am disciplined," every day, begins to act accordingly, even without realizing it. It's like recording clear instructions in the mind's operating system. In the spiritual realm, autosuggestion finds an echo in Scripture. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." This shows that our words have creative power. By declaring good things, we nourish our faith and strengthen our posture. By repeating bad things, we give them life. Therefore, autosuggestion must be aligned with high values, so that it not only brings external results, but also builds character and purpose. Another essential point is aligning words with actions. There's no point in saying "I'm healthy" and continuing to eat poorly every day. The mind perceives incoherence, and the phrase loses its effect. But when the statement is accompanied by practical choices, like walking 20 minutes or swapping soda for water, the autosuggestion is strengthened. Each action is living proof that confirms the belief. Thus, words and practice come together in a powerful mechanism. Some entrepreneurs use autosuggestion as a team. Meetings begin with joint affirmations, such as, "We deliver life-changing solutions." This practice not only strengthens team spirit, but also aligns the collective mindset. Imagine entering an environment every day where prosperity, focus, and excellence are repeated. The brain absorbs and begins to reproduce these patterns naturally. It's a silent but transformative training. Ultimately, autosuggestion is the art of reminding yourself daily of who you've decided to be. It's a silent commitment that keeps the flame of your initial decision alive. Each repeated phrase is a brick in the construction of a new identity. And when that identity is solid, no matter what happens around you, you stay on track. But there's a litmus test to solidify it: persistence. It is she who transforms phrases into a lifestyle. Smart persistence. Adjusting without giving up. Most people believe that persistence is simply about never giving up. But in practice, persistence isn't blind stubbornness. It's knowing how to keep moving forward, adjusting your course whenever necessary. Intelligent persistence combines discipline with flexibility. It's like a sailor who doesn't change their destination, but adjusts their sails according to the direction of the wind. Thus, the prosperity mindset remains firm, even in the midst of storms. The secret isn't to not fall, but to get back up every time. Many give up because they confuse temporary failure with permanent failure. When something goes wrong, they immediately think, "It's not for me." But great achievers see each obstacle as part of the process. Thomas Edison failed more than 1,000 times before lighting the light bulb. Henry Ford went bankrupt 5 times before consolidating his automaker. What set them apart? Persistence combined with learning. Each mistake was treated as a given, not a final sentence. This is intelligent persistence. Persistence doesn't mean pushing against a closed door forever. It means looking for other keys, windows, and even building a new door if necessary. When someone insists on a method that doesn't work, the problem isn't the goal, but the strategy. Intelligent persistence requires constant review. What can I do differently? Where can I improve? This humility in adjusting course ensures continuous progress. It's like a farmer who changes his irrigation method when he notices his plants aren't growing. In the financial world, this principle is evident. Successful investors don't always get it right. On the contrary, they learn from losses and adjust their choices. Warren Buffett once said that losing money is part of the game, but failing to learn from it is unacceptable. A novice investor who gives up at the first loss will never achieve prosperity. Those who persist intelligently, studying and adjusting, build solid wealth over time. Persistence here is the bridge between faith and wealth. Persistence is also essential in relationships and personal projects. How many marriages end due to a lack of resilience in the face of initial conflicts? How many talents are buried because someone gave up too soon? Persistence isn't about insisting on what doesn't work, but about learning new ways to love, communicate, and express yourself. The musician who keeps practicing even without applause soon becomes a role model. Persistence is the silent discipline that transforms potential into reality. It's interesting to note how persistence shapes character. Those who persevere despite difficulties acquire inner strength that no amount of ease could provide. Each challenge faced becomes training for the next steps. It's like iron being forged in fire. It only becomes resistant after withstanding high temperatures. The persistent person learns to see obstacles not as enemies, but as teachers. This perspective is what differentiates those who merely desire from those who achieve true prosperity. In the spiritual realm, the Bible reinforces this truth in Galatians 6:9. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap, if we do not give up. This is the essence of intelligent persistence. The harvest will come, but only for those who persevere without becoming weary along the way. It's easy to start something enthusiastically, but few reach the end. Persistence is the bridge between promise and fulfillment. It transforms faith into experience, promise into testimony. A crucial detail: persistence must be accompanied by purpose. Those who insist on something meaningless soon burn out. But those who are clear about why they're fighting find strength even when it seems impossible. Think of a mother who works hard to support her children. Her persistence doesn't come from fleeting motivation, but from the love she carries in her heart. Purpose fuels discipline. Without it, the journey becomes unsustainable. Intelligent persistence is also strengthened by the right company. Being surrounded by people who support your vision helps you not give up. When you're alone, any difficulty seems doubled. But when there's a circle of support, every setback is softened. That's why mastermind groups, faith communities, and support networks work so well. Collective energy multiplies individual persistence. The right environment is a shield against premature giving up. Ultimately, intelligent persistence is choosing to keep going, even when the pace is slow, but with the wisdom to adjust along the way. It's running a marathon, not a sprint. Life rewards those who persist, not those who just try for a few days. But there's a powerful detail: no one achieves great things alone. The next key to prosperity is learning to surround yourself with minds who think big and walk in the same direction. And that's what brings us to the concept of mastermind. Environment and mastermind. How to set up your acceleration circle. No one grows alone. No matter how disciplined a person is, there is a natural limit when they try to walk the journey without support. That's why Napoleon Hill emphasized the concept of mastermind. When two or more people come together in harmony for a common purpose, a third, invisible force is born that multiplies results. It's like joining two batteries. The energy generated goes far beyond the sum of their individual values. The right environment is a silent accelerator of prosperity. Environment has power because it shapes behavior. Those who live in negative circles, full of complaints and victimhood, end up absorbing this energy without realizing it. On the other hand, those who surround themselves with visionary people, who talk about solutions instead of problems, learn to think bigger. It's like planting a fertile seed in rich soil. It naturally grows faster. Personal discipline is vital, but the environment is what determines whether this effort will thrive or fail. A clear example of this is in the world of entrepreneurs. Many who started small attribute much of their success to the circle of mentors and partners they had. Steve Jobs had Steve Wozniak, Bill Gates had Paul Allen. Even great spiritual leaders lived in communities. History proves it. No one transforms a vision into an impactful reality without the right alliances. Shared prosperity is stronger and more sustainable than isolated wealth. In practical terms, setting up a mastermind doesn't require anything grand. It can start with 2 or 3 people committed to meeting weekly to share lessons learned, challenges, and goals. The key isn't the quantity, but the quality of the exchange. It's important to have trust, respect, and a focus on clear objectives. A gossip group isn't a mastermind. It's just a distraction. An acceleration circle, on the other hand, is a laboratory of ideas, fuel for faith, and a field for collective growth. To form this circle, the first step is clarity of purpose. Everyone needs to know why they're together and what they hope to achieve. This could be increasing financial prosperity, growing digital projects, strengthening their spiritual life, or even improving their health. The second step is establishing commitments, regular meetings, shared goals, and honest feedback. The third is maintaining harmony. Where there is conflict, energy is lost. A mastermind only flourishes in the soil of trust. A key point is complementary diversity. There's no point in bringing together people who are the same in every way. The ideal is to blend talents, those with strategic vision, those with discipline in execution, and those with creativity for new solutions. This diversity creates innovation. It's like a soccer team. It's no use having only attackers. You need a defense, a midfielder, and a goalkeeper. The balance between different strengths makes the group invincible. Prosperity also arises from the multiplication of gifts. The right environment acts as a shield against giving up. On days when someone thinks about quitting, another member of the circle reminds them of their purpose, encourages them, and strengthens them. This collective energy prevents a flame from dying out. How many talented people have died for lack of a word of encouragement? A well-structured mastermind is like a bonfire. Each member is an ember. Alone, it dies quickly. Together, they keep the fire burning for much longer. It's collective persistence. In the spiritual realm, this principle is reinforced in Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. This means we grow most when we are challenged by those who walk with us. It's not just about support, but also about constructive confrontation. A good acceleration circle doesn't just pat people on the back, but encourages each member to be better, not to become complacent. Prosperity requires loving confrontation, not just comfort. It's worth remembering that the digital environment is also powerful. Today, it's possible to form online masterminds with people from different parts of the world, exchanging experiences and strategies in real time. Platforms like Zoom, WhatsApp groups, or even Discord communities can become true acceleration spaces. What's important isn't the format, but the consistency and quality of the exchange. When aligned minds come together, distance is no longer an obstacle. Ultimately, masterminding is more than a technique. It's a lifestyle. It's about consciously deciding that you won't walk alone, but rather surrounded by people who lift you up. This right environment shortens paths, broadens perspectives, and strengthens your identity. But once you're clear about who you are and surrounded by the right people, another practical question arises. How do you organize your routine to ensure all that energy doesn't get lost? This is where minimum viable routine, MVR. 45 minutes. That moved the needle. Many people believe they need endless hours of dedication to change their lives. This mindset hinders more than it helps, because it creates the idea that you can only start when the perfect timing is there. The minimum viable routine aims to break this myth. Just 45 well-applied minutes a day can generate exponential results. It's less about quantity and more about quality of focus. What is done intentionally, even in a short time, transforms destinies. These 45 minutes may seem like little, but if organized correctly, they're a transformative machine. Imagine someone who decides to study English every day during this time. In a year, they'll have accumulated over 270 hours of practice, enough to advance their level. The same goes for physical training, reading, writing, or digital projects. It's the power of minimal discipline combined with persistence. Small, consistent blocks of time transform into concrete prosperity. The secret to RMV is intentionality. It's not spending 45 minutes on social media, but directing that time toward activities that move the needle. Reading 20 pages of a personal development book, writing 2 pages of a project, exercising, reviewing financial goals. These are small actions, but when accumulated, they build a new identity. Each 45-minute cycle is like a seed planted that, watered daily, becomes a forest of results. A practical example is the golden block used by high-performance executives. They reserve the first hour of the morning to work on their number one priority, before the world demands their attention. This simple habit increases productivity by up to 40%. Imagine if every day, for just 45 minutes, you dedicate yourself to what truly matters. Within a few months, your life begins to reflect a rare discipline that most lack. This creates competitive advantage and prosperity. RMV also combats procrastination. The brain loves to put off big tasks, but it's willing to start small. That's why saying I'm going to write an entire book is scary, but I'm going to write for 45 minutes today seems feasible. The same goes for exercise, new businesses, or studies. A minimal routine reduces mental resistance, allowing flow to set in. Once in motion, the body and mind crave continuity. Persistence is born from small, consistent doses. It's worth remembering that the MVR doesn't replace large blocks of work, but it ensures consistency on days when it seems impossible to perform. It's the minimum discipline that prevents setbacks. Like a treadmill that never stops, even at a slow speed, it maintains the rhythm of the journey. This is essential, because giving up for a few days can jeopardize months of progress. The minimum viable routine is the antidote to silent withdrawals that destroy dreams. The great advantage is that anyone can apply it, regardless of their current situation. A busy mother can use 45 minutes in the evening to study or meditate. A student can set aside that time in the morning to review material. An entrepreneur can set aside that block to strategically think about new products. No matter the context, everyone has 45 minutes available. What makes the difference is how they use that time. Those who apply the RMV plant invisible prosperity every day. In the financial field, for example, 45 minutes can be spent analyzing investments, organizing a budget, or learning about new assets. Anyone who does this every day for a year will have dedicated over 16,000 minutes to finances, enough time to become an expert in their own money. This discipline generates independence and peace of mind. A minimum viable routine isn't just about productivity. It's about building freedom. It's about wealth being born silently. In the spiritual realm, RMV also has a huge impact. Imagine 45 minutes of Bible reading, prayer, or guided meditation every day. In just a few months, your mind and heart will be different. Minimal discipline transforms into inner strength. This is how faith grows, not in occasional bursts, but in small, consistent practices. Spiritual prosperity is built the same way as financial prosperity, with focus, persistence, and conscious repetition. The most interesting thing is that, by applying RMV, people discover they can do much more than they imagined. These 45 minutes create a rhythm, which often naturally extends to an hour or two. But even if it doesn't, it's enough to build a new life. Habit is more powerful than motivation. But a practical question arises. After creating minimal discipline, how do you choose the best opportunities to accelerate financial prosperity? This is where income levers, practical examples, and accessible paths. Wealth doesn't come simply from working longer hours, but from pulling the right levers. A lever is something that multiplies effort, making 1 hour of dedication produce 10 times the results. It's the opposite of exchanging time for money. Those who understand this discover that prosperity is more linked to strategy than excessive sweat. Working hard is important, but working smart is essential. A classic example of leverage is knowledge. Those who master a rare skill, such as programming, digital marketing, or negotiation, can charge more for the same amount of time. It's not that they work harder, but that they generate more value. This is the difference between someone earning minimum wage and someone earning 10 times as much for the same amount of hours. What changes is the leverage. Investing in knowledge is always one of the most powerful. Another powerful lever is technology. Think about someone who sells physical products in a local store and someone who sells the same product online. The difference lies in reach. While one serves dozens of customers, the other can reach thousands of customers in several cities. The effort to register the product is the same, but the potential return is incomparable. The Internet is a lever that has democratized prosperity, making it possible for small businesses to become big. Investments are also levers. Money invested wisely works without requiring physical effort. Compound interest, passive income from real estate, stock dividends, or royalties from books and music are examples of this. The person continues to live, but their income grows on its own. This is the difference between simply making money and building wealth. Working provides survival. Investing with discipline brings freedom. A well-positioned lever changes generations. Networking is another often underestimated lever. The right conversation can open doors that years of solitary effort wouldn't. When someone joins a group of entrepreneurs, they begin to access opportunities that previously seemed unattainable. A partner, an investor, a strategic partner, all of these can be born from a single contact. Prosperity flows faster when you're connected to those who have already walked similar paths and can accelerate the process. Digital products are modern levers. Creating an online course, an ebook, or an app requires initial effort, but can be sold to thousands of people at no additional cost. Imagine someone who teaches cooking. They can teach a class to 20 people in person, or create an online course and sell it to 2,000 people. The initial effort is the same, but the scalability is different. This is how so-called exponential businesses emerge. Another practical example is franchising or replicable systems. Instead of opening a single restaurant and relying on its presence, the entrepreneur creates a model that can be replicated by dozens of franchisees. They multiply their presence without physically being present at each location. This scalable mindset is typical of great achievers. Prosperity isn't limited to individual effort. It grows when multiplied by well-structured systems. But it's important to note, not every lever is positive. Debt, for example, also acts as a lever, but a negative one. It multiplies problems instead of solving them. That's why financial education is essential. Knowing how to distinguish between consumer debt, which drains resources, and strategic debt, which can leverage business. Using the wrong levers is like putting adulterated gasoline in a powerful car. It leads nowhere, only causes losses. In the spiritual and personal realm, faith is also a lever. When someone decides to believe they are capable and acts on that conviction, their energy multiplies. Faith doesn't eliminate work, but rather strengthens it. It's like wind in a sail. The boat is already moving, but with the right wind, it reaches destinations much faster. Faith, discipline, and action are invisible levers that transform lives. They strengthen both material and inner prosperity. Ultimately, those who learn to leverage their income discover that freedom isn't about working to exhaustion, but about choosing paths that multiply results. It's more about strategy than strength. And when you realize this, a new question arises. How can you prevent self-sabotage, fatigue, and comparisons from stealing all that accumulated energy? The answer lies in the next step. Learning to deal with it. Anti-sabotage of the mind and heart. Anti-sabotage. How to deal with low energy, guilt, and comparisons. Every great journey has silent enemies that live within us. It's not just external obstacles that get in the way. Often, it's our own minds that sabotage the process. Energy slumps, guilt, and comparisons are traps that can destroy even the best planned strategies. Learning to deal with these saboteurs is as important as setting goals or persisting. Without them, prosperity loses momentum midway. Energy slumps occur when motivation wanes. It's natural. No one can be motivated every day. The mistake is believing you should only act when you feel motivated. Discipline exists precisely to sustain low-energy days. A simple trick is to create rituals, music that awakens you, a cold shower, self-suggestion phrases. These are triggers that reignite the inner fire. The body reacts to what the mind dictates, but the mind also needs tools to be rekindled. Guilt is another powerful saboteur. It appears when a person fails to maintain a routine or compares themselves to someone more advanced. Guilt paralyzes because it transforms a slip-up into an identity. I failed today, therefore I'm not disciplined. This thought is toxic. The truth is that everyone fails. The difference lies in getting back up quickly. The secret is to transform guilt into learning, not a sentence. Those who make mistakes and forgive themselves, but keep going, grow much faster. Comparisons are perhaps the most insidious saboteur. In the age of social media, it seems like everyone is thriving except you. But what we see is a snapshot, not reality. Comparing yourself is forgetting that each person has a unique timetable and path. Energy that could be used to build is drained into envy and frustration. The prosperous mindset understands, if someone has made it, it's proof that they can too. Other people's success should be an inspiration, not a threat. A good way to combat comparisons is to create personal metrics. Instead of measuring progress by what others have achieved, measure it by what you've achieved in relation to yourself. Ask, am I better than I was 3 months ago? This question places the ruler within your own journey. If the answer is yes, there's reason to celebrate. If the answer is no, there's clarity on where to improve. External comparisons paralyze. Internal comparisons empower. Another antidote to saboteurs is to take care of your body. A lack of energy is often a reflection of a poor diet, a sedentary lifestyle, or lack of sleep. Prosperity requires a physical foundation. There's no point in wanting discipline if your body is exhausted. A simple adjustment, getting better sleep, drinking more water, exercising, can boost your energy levels. Mind and body are allies. Ignoring one weakens the other. Self-sabotage can also be combated with self-care. In the spiritual realm, guilt and comparison find a response in faith. The Bible reminds us that there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ. This frees us from the prison of guilt and restores the confidence to begin anew. Comparison also loses its power when our identity is grounded in something greater. If value doesn't depend on external achievements, there's no reason for envy. Faith is the anchor that steadies the heart against the storms of the mind. Inner prosperity strengthens outer prosperity. Another practical strategy against self-sabotage is the quick reset. Instead of waiting until the following week to start over, the person decides to resume in the next 45-minute block. This prevents a small mistake from turning into total abandonment. A slip-up at breakfast doesn't ruin the entire day's diet. A postponed task doesn't eliminate the value of others completed. The quick reset is discipline combined with grace. Learning to keep going without drama. The support of a healthy circle also protects against saboteurs. When energy levels drop, the mastermind reminds us of our purpose. When guilt strikes, someone reminds us that failure is part of life. When comparisons try to undermine us, the group celebrates small victories and provides perspective. This environment builds immunity against self-sabotage. It's like an emotional vaccine. It prepares us before a crisis. Therefore, those who walk together have a greater chance of thriving in the long run. Ultimately, dealing with self-sabotage means accepting your humanity without abandoning your purpose. It's acknowledging your failures but continuing to get back up. It's learning to laugh at yourself instead of punishing yourself excessively. It's turning failures into fuel. Those who overcome these internal saboteurs discover that nothing external can stop them. But a powerful question remains. How can we use all of this, in practice, to build a lifetime of prosperity? The answer lies in completing this journey. Now tell me, what's the point of listening to all this if you don't apply even a little bit of it tomorrow morning? Will you continue living on autopilot, or will you choose to wake up with the attitude of a winner? Think, what's the first practical decision you can make today to prove to yourself that you're committed to your prosperity? How much longer will you wait to see yourself as disciplined, prosperous, and focused? What if, instead of comparing your life to others, you decided to compare yourself and move forward 1% each day? What would change in your routine, your work, your faith, and your income? Transformation doesn't happen when you just wish it, but when you start acting differently. So choose a principle you learned here and put it into practice today. Then come back in the comments and share your experience, because your decision may inspire others to do the same. And of course, if this content resonated with you, subscribe to the channel now, activate the bell, and join this community of prosperous minds. Here you'll always find new ideas, new challenges, and new paths to grow from the inside out. Don't miss out. Your prosperity deserves consistency and direction.